Hi, first grade. Miss Huff here again with another writing lesson for you today, and we're going to continue learning new styles of poetry. So the type of poetry we're learning today is called concrete poetry, and this is a really fun style of poetry. So a concrete poem is a poem that has a visual appearance, which means it looks like the topic of the poem. A concrete poem is also called a shape poem, which is what we usually refer to them as in first grade. It's called a shape poem because the words of the poem take the shape of the poem's subject or topic. And people have been writing this type of poetry for many, many years to express what they're thinking and feeling in both words and in pictures. There are two different types of concrete poems that you'll see linked in the attachment on this Padlet, but we're really going to focus just on the first type, and that is called an outline concrete or shape poem. So for this style of poetry, what you do is create an outline or sketch the shape of the topic that you're going to write about. So for example, if I wanted to write about rain, since that's something we see a lot in the springtime, I might first draw an outline, which is this dark line here around the outside of what a raindrop looks like. Now, before I fill in my shape, I want to first write my poem on a separate sheet of paper. Now, remember that poetry really is a way to express thoughts and feelings and isn't always written in the exact same style that we might have used for our personal narratives or for nonfiction or opinion writing. Poetry oftentimes does include complete sentences, but it also includes things like figurative language, which are things like similes, which just means comparing two things. For example, you might say that rain is wet like the ocean, so comparing rain to the ocean. Poetry also uses things like rhyming words or short phrases to describe things. So as you write your poetry, don't be so worried about always making a complete sentence. You're just describing your topic using all sorts of different types of writing. So for example, if I'm going to write about clouds, I'll first draw my shape, then think of what things I know about clouds or how I might want to describe clouds. So on a separate sheet of paper, I have written down some things. For example, I have written that clouds can be many shapes and sizes. A simile I've come up with is that sometimes clouds are fluffy like giant marshmallows. Dark gray clouds mean that rain is coming. And I see a cloud that looks like a dinosaur. So again, that style of poetry does use complete sentences, but I've also tried to use a simile in comparing clouds and marshmallows. So now that I have my topic and I've written down what I want to say in my poem, it's now time for me to put that in my shape. And there's actually two ways of doing this. The first way is going to be by filling the inside of your shape. And on the Padlet, I've included an attachment that has lots of different shapes for you that all kind of revolve around spring. That includes this cloud that you've seen, this raindrop, and other things like the sun, a star, a tree, a lightning bolt. So if you're nervous about creating your own shape, you are more than welcome to use the shapes that have been provided. Okay, so at the top, I've written my title, which my poem is all about clouds. And now that I have my ideas, I'm going to write them on the inside of my shape. And you'll notice that as I'm writing them, it'll start to appear and look like the shape of a cloud. Since this poem includes complete sentences, I am going to be sure to include capital letters and periods at the end to show my complete sentences. As you can see, I've written my first sentence inside the cloud, and I'm going to go ahead and keep writing the rest of my thoughts. So far, I've written my first two sentences, which say, clouds can be many shapes and sizes, and sometimes they look like giant fluffy marshmallows. Just like we do on our writing paper that we use at school, I'm still starting my sentences on the left side of my page, moving towards the right side of my page, and then writing from top to bottom, making sure I include a nice finger space in between each of my words. So now I've finished writing inside my cloud the ideas that I had on my paper, but you can see that I still have a few extra lines open. So I might take this time to think what else I might be able to say about clouds or how else I might describe them. So again, I have clouds can be many shapes and sizes. Sometimes they are fluffy like giant marshmallows. Dark gray clouds mean rain is coming. I see a cloud that looks like a dinosaur. So I might write something else about clouds, such as, I love looking at clouds on a sunny day. And with that last sentence, I was able to fill in my cloud, and you can see that the words take the shape of the topic that I've written about. So it's always important that whatever you're writing about matches your topic, which also matches the shape that you've drawn. So again, that's called an outline concrete poem or a shape poem, but there's actually another way that you can create an outline poem as well. So say you're not able to print off any of these templates, or maybe you have an idea for something different. You can actually draw your own shape on a white piece of paper or just any blank paper that you have at home. One shape that we could all draw is our hand, and we could write a shape poem about our hand or hands. So to do that, I'm actually going to put my hand on a piece of paper, and I'm just going to trace around it to help me make the shape of my topic. And this is something fun that you could all do at home using a pencil, a crayon, a marker, any writing tool that you might have. So I've just traced around my hand, creating my own shape. Now you could create your own shape of any topic. You could draw your own cloud, your own raindrop, whatever it is. So poetry is always kind of left up to you as the writer to really be creative. So again, just like I did with my cloud poem, I've drawn my shape first, and then I've gone ahead and already brainstormed some ideas that I have about hands. Now this time, instead of writing complete sentences, I've come up with a list of things that hands can do, and those are mostly verbs that I've come up with. So lots of times poems include adjectives, which are describing words, and I could use adjectives to describe hands, but for this poem I've written verbs of things that hands can do. For example, hands can catch, throw, build, write, play, and those are the words I'm going to use for my shape poem. Now what's going to be different about this poem is instead of filling in the inside of the shape, I'm actually going to write my words outside my outline, but I want to be sure to still follow the shape of the poem so that my words create the shape of my topic. So instead of just writing them in the background, I'm still going to follow my shape. So let me show you what that looks like. I can pick anywhere on my shape to start. And I'm just going to write the words, again, being sure to follow the shape that I've drawn. And again, since this time I'm not writing words that are complete sentences, I'm not too worried about punctuation like periods or making sure that I include capital letters. Since this shape is kind of curvy, some of my words are kind of curvy as well. Let me show you what I have so far. So you can see that I'm using my words, my verbs that are describing what hands can do, and I'm following along the shape of my hand so that my words are really creating the shape of my topic. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but just what's important is that the shape that you're creating matches the topic that you're writing, and the words or phrases or sentences that you're writing match the topic of what you have created. So I'm just continuing to write the ideas that I came up with all around the shape of my hand. So as we add more words, you can really see my poem start to take shape. Now, again, this is all I had written down so far, and I can see that I still have some space to go. So I might have to go back and brainstorm some more ideas about things that hands can do and continue to add around my poem until I've filled up my whole shape. All right, and with that, my last word filled in my whole shape. So again, these are called concrete poems, and the two ways that you can do them are by filling in the inside of your shape with describing words about your topic, or by following the outline of your shape, again with words describing your topic. I know this type of poetry can be a little confusing, so if you're in need of some more direction or instructions, or if you're feeling stuck on an idea of what to write about, feel free to email myself or Mrs. Cartanas, and we would be more than happy to help you out. Happy writing and happy Poetry Month, first grade.